Hello friends! Today I'm going to share with you some fun hands-on activities for teaching your preschooler teen numbers and more than and less than. For today's activities, I will be using magnetic numbers, Play-doh, some numbers from a puzzle, Popsicle sticks, and some learning toys and manipulatives from the thrift store. As usual, I will be sharing some printables with all of my subscribers. One of the first things that I like to do when I'm introducing a new number, I like to use this book. It's called Count With Me. I like this book because my grandson can trace the numbers. Then we can count, like this is number 12, so we would count the socks. And then I would have him form the number. I'm going to be using these numbers that I bought a couple of weeks ago at the thrift store. So we would form the number 12. So here's a 1 and a 2, and that is the number 12. Another thing that I'm going to have my grandson do is trace the sandpaper numbers. Now, I made my own numbers. I used this sandpaper from the dollar store. I printed some numbers. I went ahead and cut the number. Then I put it on the sandpaper in the back. And then I cut it. I glued the number on some of this paper, and that is how I made my sandpaper numbers. Montessori toys and manipulatives are very expensive, but I like to save where I can, so I made him these numbers. So I'm going to have him trace the numbers, number 1 and 2. When we put them together, that is the number 12. Another thing that you can use is if you have a puzzle like this. This is a puzzle from the dollar store, and it's a number puzzle. So I really like these numbers because my grandson can trace the numbers. I like that they're textured, so he can trace the numbers. And he's learning number 12. One of the best ways to reinforce something that you've been teaching your child is to practice a lot of different ways. So we know our numbers 1 through 10. We're starting with our teen numbers with 11, 12, 13, and so on. So we've talked a little bit about there's 10 and then 2 more. I counted my fingers. There's 10, and then he added his 2 little fingers. So then we said 10 and then 2 more. That's 12. For this lesson, I'm going to be using the base 10 blocks that I got at the thrift store for $2. So we've been talking about tens. We counted this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we place that here. Now, how many more do we need for 12? 10. Then we get some of the little blocks, the ones. We go 11, 12. So we have 1 of the 10s and 1, 2 of the 1s. That is the number 12. Now we're working with number 14. We would do exactly the same thing. We have 1 of the 10s, 10, And then let's see how many we need for 14. 11, 12, 13, 14. So we had 1 of the 10s and 4 of the 1s. 14. This is a free printable. I'll go ahead and link it below. Now, if you don't have the base 10 manipulatives, you can make your own. This is a yellow popsicle stick, and I just put it like this, and then I traced some lines, and I cut off the little bottom and the little top. So that is 10, and then use whatever manipulative you have. 11, 12. 1 of the 10s and 1, 2 of the 1s. That is the number 12. Another thing that I'm going to do with my grandson, we are going to be using some Play-doh, and I'm using this number Play-doh molds that I have the number here. I went ahead and put a little mark here with a permanent marker so he doesn't do the numbers backwards. So we're going to form the number 12. So here's the 1, and we're going to use the 2. There's the number 12. It's just a fun way to practice forming our numbers without having to be writing them. We're just playing with Play-doh. Another thing that I'm going to be using is some magnetic numbers. And this puppy, you've seen me do this activity before. We call it Feed the Puppy. So we take the puppy food, which is my magnetic numbers, and we are going to form some numbers. We're going to use the puppy. We're going to put number 1 here, and here's a 2. That's the number 12. I would probably use some blocks so he can form the numbers. Here's the number 12. Then we would go with another number. 3. That is number 13. And then I would have him form the number 13 with the blocks. I always like to encourage you to use whatever it is you have at home. Magnetic numbers, blocks, a little plush toy, whatever you have, to review and to reinforce the lesson. For this next activity, I'm going to be using this printable that I created. It has a 10 frame, but I went ahead and put 2 since we're moving into the teen numbers. Here we're going to put our number that we're going to be working with. So let's say we're working with the number 12, and then you use a manipulative, whatever it is that you have at home. I'm going to use this hearts, and we're going to count 12. So 1, 2, 3. So we have 10, and then on the bottom we're going to count 11, 12. So that is 12. This is a great activity. If you don't have magnetic numbers, you can use, I offered a free printable where I had all the numbers 1 through 20, and you can use that. I'll try to look for that one and link it below. You can use mini erasers, little pebbles, buttons, whatever you have at home. For this next activity, I'm using this Play-doh mats. These are from Life Overseas. It's a free printable, but you have to go and get it yourselves. I really like this because it has some pirates and it has a treasure chest. We're going to use some Play-doh to form the numbers. So we would use Play-doh and form the number 11. And then I'm using this manipulative. These were just little rocks that I spray painted, and so we are going to count up to 11 using our little rocks. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 10, and then we're going to add one more, 11. For this activity, I'm going to be using some of these Montessori counting beads. Remember, I picked this up at the thrift store. So we're going to go ahead and use these. I'm using some numbers from a puzzle. I'm using some dinosaurs and some dice. So the counting beads, what we're going to do, let's say we're working with number 1. We put number 1. We can put the number first, number 1. Then this is 1 bead. We're going to find the number 1, and we're going to put 1 dinosaur. Then we would move on to another number. Let's say we want to do number 4. Number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We would find the number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then put 4 dinosaurs. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what we're going to do with this. All right, so let's say we want to work with the number 12. So we would put the numbers here, 12. Now, these beads I got at the thrift store. The Montessori beads have a color assigned for each number, like number 1 is red, number 2 is green, 3 is pink, 4 is yellow, 5 is light blue, 6 is light purple, 7 is white, 8 is brown, 9 is dark blue, and 10 is like a golden color. This only came up to 9. So I went ahead and made the 10s. I used some of this wire is called twisted bell wire. This is from Home Depot. They sell it by the yard. And then I used some pony beads from the dollar store. You get 150 pieces. These were $1. They also have different colors. So if you want to make some of these Montessori beads, it's not hard to do. You just get the wire, you cut it, the size you want to use. I went ahead and folded the tip, then I put the bead, and then you fold the other tip. So that is how I made the number 10 beads. It's just folded in here. So this is 10, and then we would put 2 more. That is 12. Then the dice, that's 6, and 6 is 12. I'm going to use the smaller dinosaurs so they'll fit here. So we would count up to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's just a fun way to count using whatever you have at home. These are numbers from a puzzle, the Montessori counting beads that you can make yourself, a pair of dies, and then any other manipulative that you have. These are some of the beads that I made using the pony beads and the twisted bell wire. I did the 1 and then 2, 3, and so on. Now, if you want to make some using bigger beads that you have at home, I had these. I used this in my Christmas video, and I used a pipe cleaner. So here's 1 and 2, and it's the same thing. You just twist the pipe cleaner, put the beads in there, then the other end twist it, and then just put it in there. So there's 1, 2, 3, and so on. So this would be a fun thing to make for your child. For this activity, we are going to be focusing on more than and less than. This is 2 popsicle sticks. I hot glued them together here. And so we're going to be using these apples. I glued a number to each one. So we're going to see which one is more than. I like the popsicle sticks. I tell my grandson, see how it's like an alligator. The mouth is open, so more is going to go here and less is going to go on this end. So what he's going to do is place this. Okay, so this is more than this. And then I would do another set of numbers. And then he would do the same thing. Which one is more? So then he would put this, and he would tell me this is more than this. Super cute activity. You can use magnetic numbers. You can use numbers from a puzzle, whatever it is that you have at home. So here I'm using blocks. I have the 5 and the 1. So then he would place this like this. So that 5 is more than 1. For this next activity, I'm using this printable that I created. We're going to use our numbers up here, numbers from the puzzle. We have my number. Then we're going to pick one less and one more. And then I'm using a manipulative to go with each of the numbers. So let's say that we're going to say my number is 3. So then one less would be 2. And one more would be 4. We're then going to put some of the little counting bears at the bottom. So that's 2. 1, 2, 3. We're going to do 3 bears. 1, 2, 3. And then the last one is 4. So then we would put 4 bears. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, you can use any manipulative that you want for the bottom. If you want to use the Montessori counting beads, you can do that. So our number is 3. 1 less would be 2. And 1 more is 4. So then we're going to use the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you can also make this into a game. We're going to use this die. We're going to roll it. And our number is 2. My number is 2. So I am going to put that. 1 less is 1. And 1 more than 2 is going to be 3. And then we would put our manipulative down here. This is a fun way to practice more and less. Later we will talk about greater than and less than. But for now, we're calling it more and less. This is a free printable. I'll go ahead and link it below. Another thing that I'm using with my grandson is this tracing numbers. This is a free printable from the Measured Mom. I really like these. I went ahead and used this ring and I put the numbers here for him. I have 11, 12. I like that she uses the green dot. So that's where we're going to start to trace our number. I like the arrow on the side. It shows you we go from here to here. Now for number 2, we're going to start here and we're going to come around. And then we're going to go this way. So this is how we trace number 12. Your child can do the tracing with his finger. The Montessori method, we use 2 fingers, so you can do that. It's important that children learn how to form their numbers properly. We start at the top and we come down. We're going to start here and we're going to come around. I also like this printable because you can use a manipulative. Let's say we're going to do 13. She gave 13 hot dogs. You can have your child put a manipulative and then we would count. 2, 3, and so on. 13. Another thing that you can do, if you don't have a laminating machine, you can put the printable in a notebook. I use this for my grandson, and she includes all the numbers, so you can have 0, 1, 2, but since we are talking about the teen numbers, we're going to go ahead and focus on those. So 10, 11. You can have your child trace with his finger, or you can use a crayon. And then the next time, use a different color crayon, and pretty soon it'll be like it's a rainbow color, all kinds of colors there. And your child would be tracing his numbers. That's just another idea. If you want to put this free printable in a binder or in a notebook, you can do that. This is a free printable from the Measured Mom. I hope you enjoyed the activities I had for you today. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.